Hi, this is Joe again with another review. For the sake of this video, we'll be discussing the 1988 film Mississippi Burning, starring Gene Hackman and William Dafoe. Of course, this film is based on the true story of what happened in about 63 and 1964 in Mississippi. I believe it was 64. Where three civil rights workers were missing and then eventually were found dead. And the FBI sent out two agents, played by Gene Hackman and William Dafoe, down to the literally small hick town in Mississippi to look for the at that time it was three missing civil rights workers, and they of course eventually find them dead. While in the movie they never really found them. They eventually found them by the end of the movie, but for a long time they didn't find them, and they're looking for them. They're trying to determine what happened if they actually left, and then they somehow they find where the car was, which was they buried in the swamp when they had like low tide or the time of the year where the swamp is very low in terms of with water, the car was revealed, and they found out well they didn't leave Mississippi. What William Dafoe's character says they never left. Of course, Gene Hackman is supposed to be like the older, more experienced one, and the William Dafoe character played everything by the stupid book. So Gene Hackman says, look, you can't play the book down here. With the type of people that we're dealing with, you can't play the book. Because you have to, and it's like, the two of them have two different styles of working. In terms of being an FBI agent, because William Dafoe is a by-the-book guy, and Gene Hackman says, look, you can't bring down like 2,000 agents look for these three kids. Because you're dealing with guys who are like the hometown boys, and it's like the hometown boy network, and dealing with racist, bigots, and everything, people who don't like outsiders, especially people from the federal government, because they don't want the federal government, because it's still like, even though it's 100 years later, they still think they're fighting a civil war, and so they don't want the federal government telling them how to live their lives, how to act towards people, or if they want to be racist, they could be racist, or they want to be in the Klan, they want to be in the Klan, and that type of mentality still exists back then in the 1960s. And so they don't want the FBI telling them how to live their lives and stuff like that. And so yeah, but we're investigating a missing persons case. We don't care about what your racial beliefs are, or your political beliefs are. We just want to find these three guys and find out what investigate what happened to them. That's what we're here for. And of course, the problem with, even though Mississippi Burning is based on a true story, it's like every few minutes you have, it's kind of like the criticism for the movie A Time to Kill, which came out almost like about 8 years later. It was based on the first John Grisham book, and I previously reviewed that. Like every few minutes you had an attack from the Klan against the blacks in Mississippi. Same thing here in Mississippi Burning. But the only difference is that Mississippi Burning is actually based on a real story. Not A Time to Kill, it's based on a fictional novel. But I'm getting slightly off topic. But every few minutes you will see people who Gene Hackman and William Dafoe talk to. I'm talking about the blacks who live in this small town. Where the three civil rights workers were chased down and killed by the racist rednecks in this town. They find out that hey, these guys aren't here, and every time they talk to some of the blacks who live there, eventually as soon as the sheriff and his cronies find out that they talked. He even had a normal conversation with Gene Hackman or William Dafoe's characters in the film. They instantly get beaten up. Their homes, the rundown homes and the shacks and stuff get burned down by the Klan. And actually, every time you have a movie like this, like I said a couple times already, it's based on a true story. You always gotta have to. Practically every other story is based on movies based on the South. You gotta have the stupid Klan in there, and make every movie about the South to a racial thing with the South, and people constantly using the N-word. And so, for those of you who never saw Mississippi Burning, who gets offended with the N-word, don't watch this movie. That's all I have to say, because you're going to hear the N-word constantly, and anti-Semitic remarks, because two of the civil rights workers were Jewish. So you have anti-Semitic and anti-black comments in this movie, right? So those of you who never seen Mississippi Burning, and then when they're seeing this, after seeing this review, you're going to get offended by that stuff. So it does want to give, does give a fair warning out there. But to me, naturally, of course, they eventually find the three civil rights workers dead in the swamp, and of course, the FBI makes a whole. They kind of like rushed when they made all these arrests. But the only one that really came unscathed was really the sheriff in the town. He just pretty much got a slap on the wrist. But his deputy got served jail time. You had other people in the town, so like people like some people got like a couple of them got like 10 or 11 years in prison. Some got like 5 years. Some got, I think a couple of them who were arrested got 6 or 7 years in prison, or 8 years in prison. I think the worst was like one person who was arrested for the killing of these three guys. Or civil rights workers got like 11 years in prison. That's it. That's like the harshest sentence of all of them. Most of them got less than 10 years, and a couple of times less than 5 years in jail. But as the movie itself, the movie is very good. I mean, it is what it is. It's a good detective story. You try to figure out what's going on in this town, and the dynamic between William Dafoe and Gene Hackman is really. When we say Gene Hackman gives it like a typical Gene Hackman performance, it was kind of like over the top in a lot of his performances, but especially at that time in the 80s. But he already established his style, and you can recognize his style. He has the same style in almost every movie he's been in, including the Superman films. And the French Connection and all that stuff is almost the same style. But the movie is what it is. And it is a good entertainment, especially seeing, like you just mentioned, the dynamic between William Dafoe and Gene Hackman, and the two of them were constantly, butting heads, about the style of working, to the whole, and how to deal with this investigation. So that's my review of the movie Mississippi Burning. Please click on the video, please rate it. Feel free to subscribe to my channel, and please forward this video on your Facebook pages. You can check out all my reviews and on my YouTube channel at rowdyc.com, so WDY, and that's C.com. That's the homepage of Rowdy Reviewer, Chris Lee Moore, and please check out all of his videos on his website. Thanks for watching, and catch you next time.